Can you see my screen now?
No. Could you please share it?
Okay.
Yes.
Is it better now?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Cool. Well, then, dear participants, dear attendants of GCC Consulting Club, first of all, thank you so much, Maxima and Lada, for arranging this great opportunity to talk to you and tell you a little bit more about how to approach cases in consulting interviews. Let us maybe give you a brief overview of what we are going to do together with you in this lovely evening. So first of all, I will briefly introduce myself and our company. Later on, I want to share with you in 20 minutes a little bit of theory about really good practices, bad practices, and maybe some worst practices of case solving in order to explain you the entire process and guide you on how you should do this. Afterwards, I very hope that much that at least one or two of you might be volunteering to do a live case simulation with me. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have a unique chance to practice the case with a former recruiter and ex-consultant and receive the feedback and the guidance on the next steps for your preparation. And we will also conclude with an open-end Q&A session where you will be able to ask all your questions. I would just kindly ask you, I'm trying to navigate several things. It might be a little bit challenging for me to follow the chat simultaneously. So Maxima or Vlada, if you would be able to have a look into what's going on into the chats, if there are any questions or if someone is raising their hands and want to ask something, so just please help me in the moderation of this if possible.
Sure, we'll do so.
And I will also encourage all of you to be very proactive. I mean, I don't want to make it as a monologue. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have a lively discussion. So feel free to raise your points at any time. We will try to address them as much as we can. Okay, so then let's basically start. Just to give you a little bit of few background about myself, what Maxima have not mentioned yet. I'm actually in the coaching since 2014. This was probably when I helped my first client or my first friend at that time to get into consulting as well, because hiring friends were very popular these days as well as nowadays. And I used to work in consulting for more than 6 years. I started my career with an internship in Kiev office in Ukraine. And even already in my internship, my second project was to help one of the countries to get ready for the Winter Olympic Games. So therefore, you can just imagine if you are just 21 years old and you are able to work for the Ministry of Development of one of the countries for an event which will be hosted later on and seen by 1 billion people. I was completely amazed about the impact what I could create in consulting. And that was my biggest motivation to go specifically for that industry. After my master studies, I moved to Munich, and later on, I was able to work in 2 consultancies and have completed more than 30 projects in more than 10 countries around the globe. Of course, in Switzerland, in Germany, in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, in Russia, in the Middle East. Was very, very intense experience. And now, for the last 3 years, I am the CEO of my own coaching company, Consulting Masters. I will now in the chat share the information about it. So feel free to visit our website or subscribe to our YouTube channel if you would like to. Well, a little bit more about our company, what we do generally. We have several experts who are all ex-consultants. They either used to work at McKinsey or BCG or Kearney or Roland Berger or other leading consulting firms. And we combine more than 25 years of expertise in consulting ourselves and more than 15 years of coaching. And up till that date, we helped exactly 593 mentees to receive their job offers at the most prestigious consulting companies worldwide, like MBB, Tier 1 consulting firms, Big Four, or boutique consultancies. And as you see, we truly have a global coverage in basically, I think there is just one piece of the continent which we haven't covered yet. This is Antarctic. But yeah, who knows, maybe due to global warming, McKinsey will open an office one day there, or hopefully not. Yeah, then let's basically move on to them. This is the information about our social network. So if you would like to stay connected with us, you can basically subscribe and find me at the channels that are most convenient for you, either on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook to follow our regular content. And then let's basically start with the show. So what I want to discuss with you in the next 20 minutes. First of all, the interview process at the top consulting firms, number one. Number two, basics of the case solving process. Then I want to really focus your attention to highlight top mistakes that most of the candidates are doing during the interviews and how to avoid them. And of course, share with you the best practices. All right, sounds like a plan. Let's start. So you need to consider that in every management consulting company, every interview consists of three main parts. The first one is the personal fit and motivational questions. The second one is the case part, and the third one, you have like 5 or 7 minutes at the end of the interview to ask some questions to the interview. So today we will be focusing only on the case part. I will not stop on the personal fit part or on the questions to the interviewer, but I want to stress out to you and highlight the importance that personal fit part and behavioral part of the interview is as equally important as the case part. So if you actually bomb the first part of the interview, you will not be accepted actually, and you will not pass to the next stage. So don't focus purely only on the case part. Be a well-rounded candidate and therefore prepare yourself for all three parts of the interview. But as of today, let's simply focus mostly on the case part. Generally speaking, in terms of the process, how to solve the case, how does it look like? Imagine you are the candidate during the interview. Maxima, if you don't mind, I will simply address it to you because it's easier for me to communicate with a live person than just to the black screen. So, Maxima, imagine you are the candidate and I'm the interviewer. You have applied for, I don't know, McKinsey, BCG, Roland Berger, whatever the company is. Whenever after the personal fit part, as we start the case, I will generally ask you like, Maxima, are you ready to start the case? Then you would say, yeah, sure, let's go for it. Then I, as an interviewer, I will give the prompt of the case. And your first objective is to do the first two steps. First of all, you need to paraphrase the case question in order to make sure that you fully grasped it, the case prompt. Then number two, and this is really important, this is one of the most common mistakes. So don't do this. Don't skip clarifying questions. You definitely need to ask a few clarifying questions, usually two to four clarifying questions to make sure that you fully understood the case.
Yeah.
Without understanding the case, don't proceed to outlining the structure. So first, number one, paraphrase the case question. Number two, ask clarifying questions.
Yes.
Yeah, and only then ask for some time from the interviewer saying something like, can I maybe get a moment of time to structure my thoughts?
Yeah.
And then you take your time, you outline the structure, then you present it to the interviewer and align it with him or her, and you move on. And then, since we are going to do the market sizing today, you need to make your assumptions and basically validate them. And only afterwards proceed to the calculations and validate them. And then as the result is validated of the case, make the final recommendation.
Yeah.
So these are the 5 or 6 most common steps which every candidate need to follow in the structured case solving process. Yeah. And I hope that our candidate today will be able to show it. So this slide is really very important.
Just one question here. Would it be considered unprofessional if you over and over ask the same question on the details that have been given to you, or?
No, it's not unprofessional.
Yeah.
You could say something like, just to make sure that I understood you correctly.
Yes.
I would like to repeat. So the case prompt was company XYZ, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
So it's absolutely normal. Or if you by chance haven't got any piece of information, you could also say, excuse me, there was one part where I was not able to grasp it. Could you maybe repeat one more time what you were mentioning about company XYZ?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
But you need to make sure that you totally understood the case.
True.
And how you understood the objectives. Only then proceed with outlining the structure. This is really important because if you don't do this step, there is 90% probability that you will fail it.
Yeah, true. Thank you very much.
Okay, by the way, any other questions in the chat? If there are coming, yeah, just let me know.
Sure, nothing.
All right.
Sure, yeah.
Otherwise, I will simply proceed. So, what are the good clarifying questions to be asked at this stage? There are, I would say, 3 groups of them. Number one, of course, just make sure that you've understood the specific objective of the case. Ideally, quantifiable objective, like, for example, if we're talking about profitability, then how high should be the profitability? What we expect, and what is the time frame? Or if we're talking about the market size, clarify what are, for example, the units. Is it in number of goods sold? Is it in Swiss francs or etc. If you need clarify and specify what is the business model of the company, especially if you don't understand it. For example, like you're facing new industry, oil and gas, you have no idea about it, then you can ask for clarification about how does the company makes money, or anything specific on the product and market, if relevant. So these are the three groups of questions which are most commonly asked.
Okay.
Then the next point is the structure. So make sure that your structure is MISI. MISI is a consulting term which actually means mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. This actually means that your structure needs to be exhaustive. So, for example, if you're analyzing profits, then you need to analyze both revenues and costs, because profitability consists of revenues and costs. Then you can further split it, revenues into revenues per unit sold, or revenue streams, quantified by price, etc. Or costs might be divided into fixed and variable costs, etc. And then, as you have developed your approach, your logic, for example, how to analyze the market for XYZ, then present it to the interviewer, and at the end of your speech, make sure that you validate it with him or her. So say something like, does it make sense to you? If yes, then I would like to start with the first bucket unless you prefer me to start elsewhere. And then, do you have any data on XYZ? That's how you should be presenting your case. And that's also how you show the interviewer that you are able to drive the discussion independently. Okay, if that's clear, by the way, just please put in the chat whether it's clear, like a hum or plus, or say yes, so that Maxima and I can also see whether this makes sense to you and whether you are following our discussion. So please, if you are, please put yes or plus. And then we are going to move on. So then, after you've presented the structure, the interviewer will be start probably sharing with you some quantifiable or so some quantitative or qualitative data for your analysis. And then your job is basically to analyze it bucket by bucket and to apply your logic. Basically, your objective is to find the problem, isolate it, and then cure it. And then make the intermediate summary and move on to the next bucket. And then you repeat while you are basically finding the information for the second bucket or for the third bucket in your structure. And then at the end of the day, you need to take some time before doing the final recommendation. And in order to do the final recommendation, you first of all need to review the case question and the case objectives beforehand. And then your answer could be structured in the following way. You summarize all the outcomes and ask for a minute to prepare the final recommendation. And your recommendation should restate the case question and the case objectives, then formulate a brief recommendation for each objective of the case, while supporting it with some of the key factors that you were able to gather during conduction of your analysis. You might be also mention some potential risks that might be occurring, and it's really important that you outline the specific next steps. And then at the very end, you can simply ask the interviewer a question. Do you have any questions? In order to give him a word to complete that discussion. And make sure that the recommendation is brief. So it's usually like elevator pitch between 45 to 90 seconds. So nothing long for 3-5 minutes. Be brief and specific. Okay. Is that clear so far?
If everyone could please give up a thumbs up, or if they have any questions, ask as we proceed, it would be great.
Yeah. And also, ladies and gentlemen, it would be nice, really nice from you if you could turn on your cameras so that we can see each other. And then let's basically move on to, a very important slide, basically. I want to talk to you from my own experience, since I've been interviewing quite a few candidates, both in DACH region and overseas, in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. I have observed that most of the candidates, so they do these most common 5 mistakes. And I really want to point your attention that failing to prepare is actually preparing to fail. So you really need to invest in your preparation a lot in terms of time, effort, and probably even money, to make sure that you are up to the speed. Because bear in mind one thing, only 1% of the applicants actually receive the offer. Only 10%, since 10% are per se get invited to the interview, so 90% are outscreened even on the CV stage. And then out of this 10% who made it to an interview, 9 will be out selected, and only 1% will actually get back home with an offer. So what were the most common mistakes that I have observed in my practice? Most of the candidates, or quite a few candidates, were not preparing personal fit parts very well, which I think is not a really good thing. And therefore, they were starting the interview already in the bad mood. So they were already stressed through their personal fit part of the interview. And then when the case came, they were not able to handle it because they were already nervous. So that's not the best starting position. Therefore, since we're not covering it in this webinar, I simply want to stress it. Like, personal fit is really, really important. And on this, we can even do a separate webinar because it's a very important topic. Then most of the candidates somehow didn't follow the process that I outlined a few slides before that. So especially they are not asking clarifying questions, and therefore they're not able to understand what is the case actually about and what are the case objectives. And therefore, consequently, if you don't know where you need to go, how can you build the bridge between where you are right now and where you need to go if you don't know where you need to go? So they jungle around. Therefore, their structure is not comprehensive and not exhaustive. And one very common thing is that the candidate is relying on the interviewer to drive the discussion. While actually, I, as an interviewer, I expect you as a candidate to drive the discussion, because I'm testing you as a future consultant, whether you are able to drive the case, to drive the discussion, to bring the results. Because in practice, if I'm playing a client during the interview and you are playing the future consultant, I pay money for your services. So I demand and I expect solutions. Therefore, I expect you to be in the driving seat of every discussion. So you need to take the initiative. Don't wait for me. But always take me into account and always communicate openly what you're thinking about in order to make sure that we are on the same page. I hope that it makes sense. All right, good. Yeah, I don't see the humps or the questions. So Maxima, just let me know if there are any inputs or we need to say in something specifically.
I don't know. Everyone, please also share if they have any questions. Or I think Dion, would you like to?
Yeah, thank you, Andre. That's a very helpful overview. Really, really informative. I just wanted to ask, since it's so important to state a hypothesis up front, what are your tips for coming up with something sensible before even reviewing all the data? And what happens if you change your mind about your own hypothesis halfway through?
Um, Thanks, Diane. Well, good question, but I would say that stating hypothesis upfront is not mandatory. You
Okay.
might be doing this in some of the cases, you might not be doing this in other cases. So, for example, we will be doing market sizing case today, and there is no sense to state the hypothesis. But should you decide to state a hypothesis upfront, you need to later on rely or get back to that hypothesis. So, for example, you have 3 points in your structure, and in the every structure, in the every bucket, as you go through the first part of your analysis, you might actually can do like intermediate summary that this new piece of information either proves or disproves your hypothesis. And it's okay. I mean, it's just a hypothesis. It needs to be tested, but I would not overestimate the importance of doing a hypothesis upfront.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. All right. Yeah, if there are any other questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, I simply want to give you a few very good behavioral tips in terms of how to make the right attitude and the right mindset for your interview. Number one, you really need to relax and enjoy it. It's hard to understand, but in fact, you are already invited, which means that you are among top 10% of the applicants. And the company really wants to invest time, money, and efforts in order to get to know you better. So since it is like a beauty contest, you still need to be very friendly, enthusiastic, and proactive during the interview. And remember, if I am an interviewer, I don't want to harm you. Basically, Maxima, if you are talking to me as your interviewer, treat me already as your potential future colleague, because probably the chances are pretty high that in 3, maximum 6 months from now, we might be even working on the same assignment. So you can simply imagine like you get a chance to talk to a celebrity. That should be your attitude. And show me really your interest in myself and curiosity about problem solving. I might be thriving to you curveballs, but your objective is to say, very interesting. Yeah, let me try to solve it from a different angle. Don't stress that much and always drive the discussion. Then, when you, Maxima, or someone else who will be volunteering for our today's case discussion, guys, please think out loud and explain me every single step. I really want to understand it. So make sure that you can explain every step in the discussion. And if you struggle in the case, just make a summary, intermediate summary, make a step back and try to attack the problem from a different angle. And try to smile, laugh, and simply stay cool. And the best thing what you could do is bring the interviewer to smile as well, because then the battle is already, I would say, 60% won. Yeah. So be natural, be yourself, and enjoy the whole process. I mean, the way I simply enjoy it now talking with you, you need to enjoy the real interviews and simply, yeah, be yourself. Okay. I also wanted to give you like some of the inputs about what are the actual prerequisites in order to get offers from the top consulting companies, like the one for listed here. So first of all, it's like you need to have a plan. You need to have a strategy plan along with your application documents, CV, cover letters in order, and you really need to think how you would approach each of the companies. One of the best ways to do so is through networking. And we have even created so many courses on how to do the networking in consulting and how to make sure that you receive your interview invites, because through networking, if someone puts the word for you within the organization, your chances actually to receive the offer or to receive the invite increases very, very much significantly. And then prepare for every part of the interview, both for the fit part, for the case part, as well as to ask really good questions to the interviewer at the end of the interview, which is at several, a separate discipline. And then make sure that you are able to train yourself emotionally very well, that you develop your emotional resilience to be at your best on the interview day. Because bear in mind that if you are applying for a full-time position, you might be having 2 rounds of interviews consisting of 4 to 9 interviews. 9 was the maximum, but usually it's between 5 to 7 interviews, which are separating you from where you now up to the offer. And if you fail just in one interview, this might be meaning that you are not proceeding to the next stage. So therefore, make sure that you are able to crack all the 6 to 8 interviews to receive an offer. And in order to do so, you need to train emotional resilience and might also get some help of the GCC or coaches or other experts in order to do so. Okay. So, any questions so far? Any volunteers who would like to do the case together with me? Please raise your hands.
Hello. Hi.
Thomas, would you like to volunteer?
No, I would like to ask a couple of questions.
Oh, sure.
Can you hear me? Is it okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. So my questions are about the pre-selection process. So you said that only 10% of applicants actually manage to have an interview, if that's right. I don't know if I got it well.
Yes.
Okay, so I assume that that's based only on the cover letter and the CV, right?
What do you mean?
So out of this 100% of applicants, the 10% that are selected to go to the interviews are selected based on their CV and their cover letter, right?
Plus test for most of the companies. So just to give you a brief information about the statistics, I don't have this slide with me, but I usually show it in the other webinars. According to the open data, roughly, for example, let's take McKinsey as an example. I don't remember all the exact figures, but approximately 200,000 people apply to McKinsey every year. And roughly, I would, if I can recall it correctly, 60% are, or 50% of them, 50 to 60% are outscreened straight at the very beginning. And the remaining 30 to 50% will receive a test invite.
Okay.
For example, McKinsey imbalance test or logical test if it is Roland Berger or the game for BCG, etc. So all the companies have those tests. Then out of them, actually, only 20,000 people will be invited to the actual interviews. So as you see, through the CV, cover letter screening and test screening, like 90% major stake of the applicants will not be able to proceed to the interview stage, simply because of the capacity reasons. And then there are also several processes within within McKinsey. So only so out of 20,000 people, which is like 10%, 6% or 2/3 will not make it through the first interview round. So will be out selected. Only the remaining 3 to 4% of the people will proceed to the second interview round. And out of this remaining number, only 2,200 people will actually receive the job offer. So at the end of the day, out of, you have like 200,000 went through the funnel of application. And only 2,200, like, which is 1.1%, received an offer.
Okay, so my question is about the first filter, the first step, the one that removes half of the candidates, and it's about what are the key features or the key things that interviewers look at when they analyze a CV? Like, what should we highlight? Should we highlight our leadership, anything related to leadership that we have done, or should we highlight our background? Are they looking for a specific scientific or technical background? That's my question. What would your recommendation?
Maxima and Vlada, maybe we might take this discussion a little bit later on, because I already recognize that some of the people might be needing a webinar on personal fit part, on how to solve the questions or ask questions to the interviewer, or as Thomas is asking about how to prepare the application documents. Because so for you, Thomas, a very brief answer is in your educational section, you need to highlight your overachievements, your grades, your scholarships, that you are among, I don't know, top 5, top 10% of the class. In your relevant work experience, there is a lot of to highlight, and you need to use a specific consulting language, which I think it's the topic of the separate webinar. And by the way, I would strongly recommend you subscribe to our YouTube channel. The link that I shared before, because you will see all other webinars, and you will see the webinars to the to that topic, to answer your question in all the details. So and you also need to highlight your extracurricular things and even some additional skills. So there are certain parameters and criteria, and you definitely need to tailor your CV accordingly.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Also, Marcin has a question.
Yeah, hello again. I wanted to ask something about market size assessment. Some of the cases that I encountered, I found some problems sometimes with estimating the size of the market. With some products, let's say I'm okay, but with some like amount of the peanuts eaten in US every year, I have some problems. So my question is, if this is part of the interview, how much are the interviewers willing to help a little bit? If you do some mistakes in assessing the size of the market, and this will be required for the correct assessment of the case.
It depends. It's really like individual.
Okay.
Like there are several types of the interviewers. Some will help you and give you the hints if they are friendly guys. Some will be like assholes and will be even helping you to fail. And
So basically, you
misleading
need to assess it well yourself.
Yeah, right. Marcin, would you like to volunteer and assess it? I have a very interesting case for you.
I mean, let's try, but you know, sometimes I'm far away from the good answer. But
All right, good. Marcin, then maybe you could briefly introduce yourself to all other guys before we start with the case.
sure. So my name is Marcin. I'm from Poland. I'm living in Zurich currently. I've graduated recently from University of Zurich. I did my PhD in molecular biology and prostate cancer topic. And right now I'm looking for my options for the future job and career. One of them would be consulting. That's why I joined for the club, and yeah, I'm super happy to listen to some interesting insights, presentations, and train the case studies to see if it fits me, if it's something for me, and if I really, and if I can manage in the future in this kind of industry. So that will be from my side.
All right, very good. Yeah, by the way, to all of you guys, I've also posted some of the further information into the chat, so feel free to visit our website to find out more information, and of course subscribe to the YouTube channel because it's going to be highly relevant. So what we are going to do now with Marcin, we're going to simulate a real life case, marketizing case. And by the way, this case has been given to one of our candidates most recently. So Marcin, it's like, coming very fresh from one of the leading consulting firm interviews. And I would like to encourage you to, first of all, cheer up Marcin.
Do I look so sad?
Some confidence. And yeah, feel free to engage in the chat and drop questions or how you would approach this case, some of the insights, so that Maxima can also help us to moderate this discussion. Yeah, Marcin, are you ready to go?
Definitely.
I think you first deserve the applause and encouragement from all other participants. Could you guys please turn on your microphones and cheer up?
Let's give him a round of applause for volunteering, and hope him a really good interview.
All right, Marcin, are you ready to start?
Yes, I'm ready. Let's start.
Very good. Marcin, I have a very simple question to you. Please imagine that you are working for a Swedish manufacturer of ice cream machines, industrial ice cream machines. And can you please help us to estimate the size of the market, global market for ice cream machines?
Okay. Okay, so let me recapitulate. So our client is the Swedish manufacturer of industrial manufacturer of ice machines. They would like to be present on the global market. And the question is, they would like to know how big is basically the market. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe I would like to get to know what's the main goal of the company. We are just estimating the size of the market for now, or do you want to do? Yeah, do we want to analyze something else, or this is the main goal of the company for now, just to analyze it?
So basically, I would like to understand what is the global market potential for ice cream machines. if we want to expand globally, what is the size of the market, and yeah, let's take the year 2022, but also consider the potential market growth.
Okay. And is our company already partially within this market of the ice cream machines, or it's something totally different? We are switching.
Yeah, we are producing ice cream machines, but only for Sweden and Nordics, basically. So Northern Europe, and we would like, we want to see what is the potential globally.
Okay, and maybe I would like to ask a little bit about the Swedish market. Are we like the strong company within the Swedish market, or do we have many competitors, or do we have any
This is
other
not
global
relevant for this case.
This is not relevant. Okay.
And by the way, my question to all others in parallel, what are other clarifying questions you would ask here at this stage? Please use the chat button to specify your questions. There might be also several of them. Just want to see what kind of questions you would ask. Sorry, Martin, for interruption.
No,
yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Maybe the last one, are we focusing only on the ice cream machines for now, or some side businesses related to that, or it's only about ice cream machines?
Yeah, purely on ice cream machines.
Okay, then I think I have enough clarifying information for now. Can I ask you for 2-3 minutes to create my workflow? Or...
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead. So now we have 2-3 minutes to discuss with you while Martin is preparing his structure. What would be your questions you would have asked in this case? Anyone want to raise the hand? And yeah.
When you say industrial and ice cream machines, do you mean that your clients are companies like Häagen-Dazs, Ben & Jerry's, or are you selling ice cream machines directly to consumers?
No, these are industrial ice cream machines. So the one like for Mövenpick.
Okay, and your clients are your clients themselves ice cream producers, or could they be also restaurants?
Yes, ice cream producers.
Only ice cream producers.
This is a good question. We are not taking small ice creams in the restaurants into account. Okay. Just focusing on industrially produced ice. But that's a very good one. Thanks, Dan. Martin should have asked this question. Any other questions?
I would like to ask, I don't know if that could be provided during the interview, but could we have an estimation of, I don't know, the global consumption of ice cream per capita for last year, or some other piece of data that could help us to do the estimation?
Good question, but you are a consultant. Could you please estimate it? How would you go about it?
Okay. Without having any previous information, without being
just assessment based.
Okay.
We do have some data about the machines itself. But we want to understand how you would estimate the demand for ice cream.
And when you say size of the market, do you mean dollars or number of ice cream machines, or
I was waiting for this.
I was waiting for
this question. Actually, that's a very, very good question, because it's definitely the central part. It's probably the first question I would have asked if I were a candidate.
Sorry,
we
can you
want
repeat
to
the question? Because I was just working on my workflow, but maybe it's going to help me a little bit, the important one.
Diane, please
Oh,
repeat the question.
when they say size of the market, is it in dollars? Is it in liters of ice cream produced? Is it in number of ice cream machines?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically, we operate. We want you to quantify the market first of all in number of ice cream machines and in Swedish kronas. I'm the client. I'm from Sweden. So Diane, the next consecutive question for you should have been like, can you please tell me the exchange rate
Yeah.
between, and I would have said that one Swiss franc for €1 is equal to 7 Swedish kronas.
Just to make the calculation complicated.
Yeah.
1 to 7.
Definitely. Not to give you a reference point.
Okay.
And the size of the market, global consumption of ice cream should be calculated in liters. All right. Good, Marcin. What do you have in terms of your structure? And the question to everyone, I still don't see any activity in the chat, so I want to see how you would structure that case. Please write this as a quick description in the chat. So Marcin, I'm listening to you.
Okay. So I created the buckets in my workflow that would be mainly related to customers and competitors. So within the customers, I would like, in order to assess the market, what is the global consumption of the ice cream, what kind of ice cream, what kind of tastes the customers prefer. Also, what would be the price that they would be willing to pay for an ice cream, and from the point of view on the competitors, how many competitors do we have right now in Sweden? But since we want to transition to the global market, how many other companies producing the ice cream machines are there? And basically how strong we are in comparison to our competitors. And maybe what I would like to dive in first, if I'm correct, I would like to ask you if we have any data on the global consumption of the ice cream.
I actually wanted to ask you, how are you going to estimate the global consumption of the ice cream? So can you maybe tell me how much ice cream is consumed annually?
Yes, so
I have no data for you. I just want to listen to your logic.
I mean, since maybe this one, the other clarifying question I should ask, worldwide, are we trying to enter all the continents, or we are focusing on certain part of the world outside of the Nordic countries for now?
How does the word global sound to you?
Like basically everywhere. Okay.
Yes.
And then I would estimate the amount of the first people living, maybe let's say I would structure by the continent, checking up how many people are living on every one of them, which countries, in which countries we can basically sell the products, maybe to individual customers, or maybe not individual customers, but to which companies we can do it. But yeah, maybe to estimate the size of the market, I would start with amount of people living on each continent, and then assuming how often they eat ice cream, for how many months, for example, of the year, because I can assume that maybe during warmer months or the countries in which temperature is higher, they will be more willing to eat them. Yeah, so that's basically how I would assess the size of the market. If that sounds for you.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. All right.
Also, Andre, Francisco has also given explanation in the chat, if you would.
I can just say it in person. Firstly, to estimate the amount, I just assume that in Europe, maybe like a household will use half a liter of ice cream per week in summer. Outside of summer, half of it at most. And then, like, I will just guess how many liters you can produce with one machine, with one person like producing it by hand. But also, we use an industrial situation, so I do not know where an industrial situation how it will scale with such larger machines. But yeah, maybe with one machine of a reasonable size, you can make like 20 liters of ice cream per day, just to calculate roughly how many machines will be necessary.
Okay. Any other opinions on that? Any other points about the structure?
I agree with Francisco's structure to first determine how much ice cream is consumed by consumers, and then we'll try to figure out how many machines are needed to meet that consumption. My estimate will be slightly different because for every country in the northern hemisphere, well, not every, but some countries are in the southern hemisphere, and they have summers when Europe has their winters. So my estimate will be slightly higher than Francisco for global consumption. That's the only difference.
General mistake which I observe here is you're trying to overcomplicate it whenever it's unnecessary. Why not to take the overall population of, for example, 7 billion people and simply divide it into segments? How is that different whether you are in the northern or in the southern hemisphere if it's about annual consumption?
Right.
Annual means in a year. It doesn't matter whether your winter is in December, February, or whether it's in June, August.
Okay.
It's still winter or summer.
Okay.
So seasons are less relevant. Therefore, look at it from the global objective. Okay. Any other opinions about the structure? Okay, then going back to Martin, generally speaking, your approach and Diane's approach or Francisco's approach makes a lot of sense. And to make your life easier, I would say that annually, global population consumes roughly 40 billion liters of ice cream. So how this can help you to find the market size for ice cream machines?
Yeah, that would be definitely useful. Maybe another thing I would like to know is what's this ice cream machines that you want to produce. Do we know something about how many liters they can produce per cycle? So like we know how many people may be willing to eat an ice cream right now. I would like to know like what's the science behind the machines, basically how much they can produce, how much they cost. The question was to estimate the size of the market. So maybe the only important thing would be basically how efficient they are and how many ice cream they can produce. So I can assess how many of those ice cream machines would be required for us to produce, to cover the world needs.
Any other information about the machines that you might be needing to have?
I mean, of course, I can ask how it's related to estimating size of the market, how viable they are, for how long they serve, maybe so something's related to maintenance. Also.
Okay. All right,
But,
that sounds good. And I actually have the following information for you. So basically, the annual market growth rate is about 7% per year, on top of the 40 billion liters of annually consumed ice. Utilization rate of the machine is about 64 or 65%. Well, let's make it 65 to ease the calculations. Production capacity, every machine can produce 5 million liters of ice cream per year. It has a lifespan of 15 years on average, and it costs 20 million Swedish kronas per machine. Well, machines are efficient for very large batches, but difficult to change. So if demand is shifting, then you need to change the machine.
okay.
So can you maybe now tell me how would you go about in calculating the market size?
So yeah, since we know that per year the world consumption will be 40 billions of liter of ice cream. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Actually, with the utilization rate, does it mean which amount of the produced ice cream basically is produced correctly, or this time, I'm not the MBA person, let's say.
Well, utilization basically means that out of 100% of the time, the machine is productive on 65% of the time.
65% of the time. Okay.
So none of the machine can be utilized to 100%. So they still need to be repaired. Something happens. So they are effectively used like 65% of the time.
Okay. Okay, so since we have the global market of 40 billions liter per ice cream, the way I would estimate the size of the market, knowing that the production of capacity per machine is 5 millions, I would in this way assume how many machines would be needed to cover all these 40 billion liters of the ice cream. And then knowing also the lifespan, which is 15 years on average, we can also calculate it within this 15 years of the machine lifespan, how much of the ice cream we can produce with it. Yeah, and then taking into consideration, utilization rate. Yeah, just maybe give me a moment, I can try calculating.
Can you maybe walk me through your calculations?
Definitely. So since the production capacity is 5 million of liters for machine per year,
so what are you doing?
40 billion divided by 5, assuming 100% utilization, and then account for the fact that only 2/3 are being utilized at any point.
So who is driving the case now, Martin or Diane?
Yeah, maybe, you know, I'm not the best one to do it. Maybe we can switch like for the people to be more efficient. Sorry.
All right, good. Diane, please take it over. Yeah.
Sorry, so I would just divide the amount of ice cream, 40 billion divided by 5 billion, we get 8,000. That's assuming that all the machines are at 100% utilization, but they are not. So I would add back roughly 1/3 to make my life easier. I would say 10,500 or 11,000 machines are being used every year, and every 15 years, one of them would need to be replaced. So we need to divide 10,500 by 15. Are we expected to do calculations like that?
Yes.
Oh dear. Give me a moment.
What else do you need to take into account?
The annual growth rate.
Right, precisely.
However, how far into the future are we looking?
It only means that for the next year, you need 7% more machines.
Are we only looking at the next year, or?
Yeah, so for this time horizon, it only means that you only need to have 7% more machines. That's it.
Okay, all right. So from the 10,500, I'll add 1,500 to give myself 12,000 machines divided by 15.
Yes, go ahead.
No.
And there are no calculators.
No, yeah, I know.
In the actual interview. Francesco, have you completed the calculations? I can't hear you.
No, I didn't do the calculation yet either. Like I will have to. But I would like to one thing, like
ladies and gentlemen, then I need the answer. So whoever comes with the first calculation.
800, 12,000 divided by 15 is 800, right? Yeah. 800 machines times 20 million kroners.
I will add 200 more to account for the I mean, just to make the number a bit more round, because the last piece of information that you give is that there might be some underutilization of the machines because you have to change them for another flavor. So I will add 20% more there just to make it the number a bit nicer.
And what's the exact number?
Mrs. said 800 something, I said 1,000.
Okay.
And more precise? All right, good. I will not make it too boring for you, but actually in the real interview, you would be expected to give up the real number, and therefore I will simply give you the solution. So yeah, as you said, in terms of the calculations, Diane, 8,000 machines resulting from 40 billion liters of ice divided by 5 million. Then if we include the market growth rate of 7%, it already makes it 8,560. And if we divide by the utilization of roughly 2/3, it gives us 13,375 machines. And then divide by 15 years of the lifespan, it makes 892 machines every year. And then multiply with the size of the so with the price of 20 million Swedish kronas per machine, makes roughly 17.8 billion Swedish kronas. And then you need to validate this number and then present it to the interviewer. So Martin, would you do the sanity check and give me the final recommendation?
Yes. So the question from our client was to assess the global market for the ice cream machines, and through our assessments, knowing that the market is 40 billion, growing 7% per year, we came to the conclusion that the market size is 17.84 billion of crowns, of Swedish crowns. So that would be the size of the market. However, we need to remember that probably it won't be fully ours, that there are competitors. So for our company, we will probably get the share of it. So if you would like to know what part of the market you will get, it would be nice to have some data on our competitors, how many there are, if they are already well established on the market. If you have any data on that, might be useful.
Okay, all right, good. Then thank you very much, Marcin. We will ramp up at this stage. In the real life, the case would have go further. And yeah, I want to congratulate Marcin, Francesco, and Dion on completion of this case exercise. So yeah, my congratulations. Which questions you might be having or comments?
Francesco, you're muted, I think.
Francesco, I cannot read on your lips.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Because normally when I'm doing a calculation like this, like other estimations, like for example, what I said about the flavors, that is going to be like some percentage that you will need to increase because of these sort of factors. Is it? But of course, it's a massive uncertainty if I'm adjusting by anything like this. Is it better to give a very exact number by using the data they give us, or to try to do something that might feel more reasonable, but it will be like an order of magnitude calculation more than anything else?
I didn't get your question. Can you explain it to me?
Yeah. In this case, for example, like with the numbers, with the information that you gave, like you can get exactly like the number of machines that you have there. But it seems to me that this obviously like anything, for example, there's so much variability in the production of each machine, the price, like is it better to just use, for example, these numbers which are plausible and get a very precise answer?
Yes, that was what you was expected to do in this case.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, if you see the previous slide,
yeah,
the data has been shared with you.
Yeah. Okay. No, that answers my questions. Thank you.
And it would be really cool if you guys continue to practice your mental math.
Or what? Can you say it again?
Mental math.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's not accepted if you simply cannot do this without calculators.
Yeah, I spent many years without plugging in the numbers at the end of the solutions.
Yeah, maybe it's time to refresh your knowledge from the third grade.
Yeah.
Are we expected to come to this level of precision?
Yes.
Oh, wow. But we would be doing long division by hand, or are we supposed to divide? Yeah, okay.
That's why long divisions by hand, decimals, percentages, multiplications, additions, subtractions. These are the basic functions that you need to possess.
I have a question as well, sorry. So, I mean, we haven't done really a sanity check in this case. I would be very interested to understand how you would compare this, because I don't really have like a good lever on like understanding, you know, comparing it to like other machines or like other industries?
Well, first of all, your sanity check starts with data that you have to understand. Well, 40 billion liters of ice cream. Is it reasonable? Yes or no? Well, basically, it means that every person on the planet consumes like 40 divided by, I don't know, let's say 8 billion people, like 5 liters per year. Is it reasonable? Yes or no? So these kind of.
So we would have to, sorry to interrupt, but that means we would have to kind of like already do a sanity check on that number that you gave us.
That's basically I'm explaining you the logic of the sanity check. I'm simply thinking out loud how I would do the sanity check myself if I were a candidate. So I would be thinking, okay, 40 billion liters. Does that make sense? Or was it too high or too slow calculation? And again, I gave you that number simply because, I didn't want to spend too much time with Martin on trying him to come up with that number. That was given in that case. But then also, if there are any available statistics on that, you might be asking like, okay, we figure out that the market size is 892 machines per year. Well, seems like it's a relatively small market in terms of the size of the machines. So like I'm trying to estimate it or to basically to assess this market. But given the fact that every machine can produce already 5 million liters, so we don't need that many machines to cover up for the entire demand. And considering the price of the machine and its productivity, by the way, the price also seemed to me too high. But if the machine has the capacity of 5 million liters, then yes, I can imagine that it can cost 20 million Swedish kronas. Then it makes sense. Then basically 17.8 billion Swedish kronas, or roughly 2.5 million Swiss francs or euros makes sense. Basically, that's how.
So
that's how I would basically go about whether this makes sense or not.
So you wouldn't compare it to like an outside industry, like as in, I mean, if that is possible. So basically just you're trying to compare it to numbers.
Yes, that's the first step. And then in order to do further sanity check, I would probably ask the interviewer if we have any data on for the comparable industries.
Cool.
Like to get a reference point.
Thank you.
I have one question. Like, for example, I noticed a pattern here, like 0.65. If you want to turn it into multiplication, it would be 1.5. And that 1.5 would be easily omitted with the 15 that we have in the second step. I'm trying to ask if we actually write all the steps after each other and kind of try to find like a connection or something to make the multiplication or division a bit easier. Would that be also a good choice?
I mean, Maxim, you can try, I don't know. You can start with a division of 8,000 by 15.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, if you change the order, the result will not change.
Yeah, true.
If you can optimize anything here, sure, feel free to go about it. Maybe you will find even a better way how to calculate the numbers. I don't know.
Because I mean, I've usually have had math questions, and I want to know if like there is how could I say, a more simplified, if you just like put a bit of thinking to it, you can find the simplified to calculate all of these, or no, they're just like completely random and you won't even find, so you shouldn't even waste time on finding a relation or such.
The only thing which is relevant here
Yeah.
is that for that specific case, you should do no more than 5 operations.
Okay. Yeah.
So actually, always try to minimize the number of operations.
Okay.
If anything could be calculated in 3 operations instead of 5,
Yeah.
it's better to make it in 3.
Yeah. 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 I mean, like also
you
if
need to be efficient.
Yeah. True. True. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask something? Because this is this is my first case that I've saw for the market size estimation, and I just didn't really understand when you said the 40 billion liters. Is this something that we were supposed to estimate ourselves, or is this the information that is given? I didn't catch that.
Initially, that was something that actually Martin should have come up by his own. The number could have been different. It could have been, I don't know, 20 billion liters. It could have been 160. It depends on Martin's skills on how to estimate and make the assumptions. But since I, as an interviewer, saw that Martin is struggling in that, and I still wanted all of us to go through the case, I simply gave him a random number.
Okay.
As an exemplary solution.
Okay, and do you have any advice on how to come up with this initial number?
Well, you should apply the logic. You should basically take the population, the entire world population, either 7 or 8 billion, depending on what the assumption you take. Then split it into the consumption groups. So either by age or some splitting by
Income level?
Income level, yes. So there are like different graduations, different types of the segmentation. So you need to segment this data, and then you take the assumptions which how much every segment consumes on average. You do multiplication, and then you sum up the results of all the segments, and you come up with the number. The number itself is less important. What is tested here is your logic plus the ability to take the reasonable assumptions, validate them with an interviewer, and proceed with the calculations. Remember that you first need to explain the structure, explain the logic, make sure that the interviewer understood you. Then you need to make sure that your assumptions make sense, and only in the third step you do the actual calculations. So leave the calculations to the last point. It's a common mistake when people start with the logic and they already try to calculate the case. Don't do that.
Okay, thank you.
Are we judged by how we choose to do the segmentation? In this case, for example, whether we choose age or income level or geography?
No.
Okay, thank you.
You are not judged how you do that, but you are judged whether you do this or not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? And by the way, how did you like the case? All right.
It was great.
I think it was really intriguing, and I mean, the decision on choosing this case was really good because I felt like also not that everyone learned from it, but also that they realize where they lack and where they should spend more time on if they want to prepare for a decent interview. I mean, in my opinion, it was really great.
All right, cool. Thanks. Okay, then let's talk about some of the gifts and conclude our conversation today. So I also want to give you a few bonuses here. Basically, you can have free consultation with one of the experts of our team. His name is George. And I just shared the link with you. Feel free to book a consultation with him. It's a Zoom call where you will be basically discussing your specific situation, where you need help, and analyze your topic and yeah, get the feedback plus personal approach, and align on the potential next steps where you might be needing help in your specific situation, whether it's application process, preparing for the actual interviews, or planning your career ahead. Plus, we will be sharing with you this presentation and some additional information. And yeah, I hope that you like it. Here are the contact details of George. Feel free to book the call with him and to make the first step towards your career dream job. And we are more than happy to help you. You can also, if you scan now this part, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, or simply to click on one of the links that I shared in Zoom chat beforehand. And now I'm more than happy to answer all the remaining questions, if there are any, and give you further comments, feedbacks, insights.
Okay, I can ask something that was not related to this case, but more of a different type of question. So as you have experience with people going into consulting, I don't know if you have experience in Switzerland particularly, but I have heard that it is extremely difficult to, even if the company wants to employ you, to get a work permit for consulting, because it's considered like not a job that requires specific expertise that we get through education here. So do you have any experience in that?
Marina, are you from
No, I'm not from EU.
Oh,
so
same problem.
Serbia or
Yeah, I'm from Serbia.
Serbia? Yeah, you might be facing challenges. I also had one of the candidates who were from Serbia. We helped her to get into McKinsey, and then there was some mess. So McKinsey couldn't get her through the visa process, but PwC could. So I don't know how does that work. Seems like one company is more efficient in terms of the entire paperwork than the other. This is relevant for all non-European Union citizens. And in Switzerland, in fact, it is like this. Unless you are working for something which is like IT related, like data analytics, then it's a huge exception, because then they can prove that you are exceptional. But if it's general management, then yes. First, Swiss citizens, second priority, European Union citizens, third priority, all others.
On that note, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure. But a big disclosure.
Yeah.
Big disclosure. I do have helped a lot of Swiss clients.
Okay.
Or I do have helped a lot of clients from abroad to come to Switzerland.
Yeah.
But I'm not an official authority, and yeah, I cannot give you the consultation about the local rules, etc.
Okay. As I already mentioned to you that I am doing first a minor in data science and also working as a business intelligence analyst. I want to know if the final degree that I get should definitely state that it was IT, or if I show experience or courses that I have passed, that will be also enough for me to get into an IT consulting a bit easier.
Do you have any practical experience?
I mean, I'm already working in such field.
Yeah, it's the best certificate that you might be getting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. All right. Anything else? Then I would say thanks a lot. It was a great pleasure to having all of you here. And yeah, thank you very much to all the organizers, Maxima and Vlada, and of course to our brilliant students, Marcin, Diane, Francisco, and everyone else who participated actively in the discussion, raised the questions, and yeah, thanks. It was a great fun. I mean, we've already helped 593 people to get into consulting. If you want to be 594 or 5, get in touch with Georgie. We'll be more than happy to help. And otherwise, we'll probably discuss with Maxima and Vlada what are other topics that might be interesting in the course of this semester for you to be discovered.
Well, thank you very much, Andre. I know you stayed longer than you anticipated and that you planned on. I'm really grateful for that, for the experience that you shared, with the great case that you solved with our students. And I just want to thank you for this great opportunity that you gave us today.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Have a great evening.
Thank you, guys. See you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Guys, you can stay for 30 minutes if you want to practice